Hare Krishna. Welcome all of you for today's reading session. Let us begin with prayers. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Reading from Teachings of Lord Chaitanya by His Divine Grace Vishwaguru Abhay Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Chapter 12 entitled The Devotee. I request all of you to please hear attentively. At the end of this reading session, we will be having a quiz. I will be asking a few questions based on what we are reading, and you will have to answer. Let's begin. Chapter 12 The Devotee. A person in Krishna consciousness who is fully devoted to the transcendental loving service of the Lord develops all the godly qualities of the demigods. There are many divine qualities, but Lord Chaitanya describes only some of them to Sanatana Goswami. A devotee of the Lord is always kind to everyone, and he does not pick quarrels. His interest is in the essence of life, which is spiritual. He is equal to everyone, and no one can find fault in him. His magnanimous mind is always fresh and clean and devoid of material obsessions. He is a benefactor to all living entities and is peaceful and always surrendered to Krishna. He has no material desires. He is very humble and is fixed in his purpose. He is victorious over the six material qualities, such as lust and anger, and he does not eat more than he needs. He is always sane and is respectful to others, but he does not require respect for himself. He is grave, merciful, friendly, poetic, expert, and silent. There is also a description of the devotee of the Lord in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 25, verse 21, wherein he is said to be always tolerant and merciful, a friend to all living entities. He has no enemies. He is peaceful and he possesses all good qualities. These are but a few of the characteristics of a person in Krishna consciousness. It is also said in Srimad Bhagavatam that if one gets an opportunity to serve a great soul, a Mahatma, his path to liberation is open. However, those who are attached to materialistic persons are on the path of darkness. Those who are actually holy are transcendental, composed, peaceful, friendly to all living entities, and not subject to anger. Simply by association with such holy men, one can become a Krishna conscious devotee. Indeed, to develop love of Godhead, the association of holy devotees is needed. The path of advancement in spiritual life opens for anyone who comes in contact with a holy man, and by following the path of the devotee, one is sure to develop Krishna consciousness in full devotional service. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 2, verse 28, Vasudeva, the father of Krishna, asks Narad Muni about the welfare of all living entities. And in reply, Narad Muni quotes a passage from Maharaj Nimi's discussion with the nine sages. O holy sages, King Nimi said, I am just trying to find the path of well being for all living entities. A moment of association with holy men is the most valuable thing in life, for that moment opens the path of advancement in spiritual life. This is also confirmed elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 25, verse 25. By associating with holy persons and discussing transcendental subject matters with them, one becomes convinced of the value of spiritual life. Very soon, hearing of Krishna becomes pleasing to the ear and begins to satisfy one's heart. After receiving such spiritual messages from holy persons or pure devotees, if one tries to apply them in his own life, the path of Krishna consciousness naturally develops in faith, attachment, and devotional service. The Lord then informed Sanatana Goswami about the behavior of a devotee. Here, the main point is that one should always stay aloof from unholy association. That is the sum and substance of a devotee's behavior. And what is unholy association? It is association with one who is too much attached to women and with one who is not a devotee of Lord Krishna. These are unholy persons. One is advised to associate with the holy devotees of the Lord and carefully avoid the association of unholy non devotees. Those who are pure devotees of Krishna are very careful to keep aloof from the two types of non devotees. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 31, verses 33 to 35, it is said that one should give up all association with a person who is a playmate for women, for by associating with such an unholy person, one becomes bereft of all good qualities such as truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, gravity, intelligence, shyness, beauty, fame, forgiveness, control of the mind and senses, and all the opulences that are automatically obtained by a devotee. A man is never so degraded as when he associates with persons who are too much attached to women. In this regard, Lord Chaitanya also quotes a verse from Katyayana Samhita. One should rather tolerate the miseries of being locked in a cage filled with fear than associate with those who are not devotees of the Lord. One is also advised not to even look at the faces of persons who are irreligious or who are devoid of devotion to the Supreme Lord. Lord Chaitanya recommends that one should scrupulously renounce the association of unwanted persons and completely take shelter of the Supreme Lord Krishna. This same instruction is given to Arjuna in the last verses of Bhagavad Gita, in which Krishna says, just give up everything and surrender unto me. I will take care of you and protect you from all the reactions to sinful activities. Bhagavad Gita chapter 18 verse 66. The Lord is very kind to his devotees and he is very grateful, able and magnanimous. It is our duty to believe his words, and if we are intelligent and educated enough, we will follow his instructions without hesitation. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 48, verse 26, Akrura tells Krishna, Kah panditastwadaparam sharanam samiyat bhakta priyadruta giras suhruda kritagnyat sarvan dadati suhrudo bhajato bhikaman atmanamapyuch upachaya upachaya upau nayasya. Who can surrender to anyone other than yourself? Who is as dear, truthful, friendly, and grateful as you? You are so perfect and complete that even though you give yourself to your devotee, you are still full and perfect. You can satisfy all the desires of your devotee and even deliver yourself unto him. A person who is intelligent and is able to understand the philosophy of Krishna consciousness naturally gives up everything and takes to the shelter of Krishna. In this regard, Lord Chaitanya recites a verse spoken by Uddhava in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 2, verse 23. How can one take shelter of anyone but Krishna? He is so kind. Even though Bakasura's sister planned to kill Putana, sorry, even though Bakasura's sister planned to kill Krishna when he was an infant by applying poison to her breast and offering it to Krishna to suck and thus die, still that heinous woman received salvation and was elevated to the same platform as Krishna's own mother. This verse refers to the time when Putana planned to kill Krishna. Krishna accepted the poisonous breasts of that demoniac woman, and when he sucked the milk from her, he sucked out her life also. Nonetheless, Putana was elevated to the same position as Krishna's own mother. There is no essential difference between a fully surrendered soul and a person in the renounced order of life. The only difference is that a fully surrendered soul is completely dependent upon Krishna. There are six basic guidelines for surrender. The first is that one should accept everything that is favorable for the discharge of devotional service, and one should be determined to accept the process. The second is that one should give up everything that is unfavorable to the discharge of devotional service, and one should be determined to give it all up. Thirdly, one should be convinced that only Krishna can protect him and should have full faith that the Lord will give that protection. An intelligent person thinks that his actual identity is in being one with Krishna, but a devotee, sorry, an impersonalist thinks that his actual identity is in being one with Krishna, but a devotee does not destroy his identity in this way. He lives with full faith that Krishna will kindly protect him in all respects. Fourthly, a devotee should always accept Krishna as his maintainer. Those who are interested in the fruits of activities generally expect protection from the demigods, but a devotee of Krishna does not look to any demigod for protection. He is fully convinced that Krishna will protect him from all unfavorable circumstances. Fifth, a devotee is always conscious that his desires are not independent. Unless Krishna fulfills them, they cannot be fulfilled. Lastly, one should always think of himself as the most fallen among souls so that Krishna will take care of him. Such a surrendered soul should take shelter of a holy place like Vrindavan, Mathura, Dwaraka, Mayapur, etc., and should surrender himself unto the Lord, saying, My Lord, from today I am yours. You can protect me or kill me as you like. A pure devotee takes shelter of Krishna in such a way And Krishna is so grateful that he accepts him and gives him all kinds of protection. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 29, verse 34, where it is said that if a person who is about to die takes full shelter of the Supreme Lord and places himself fully under his care, he actually attains immortality and becomes eligible to associate with the Supreme Lord and enjoy transcendental bliss. The Lord then explained to Sanatana Goswami the various types and symptoms of practical devotional service. When devotional service is performed with our present senses, it is called practical devotional service. Actually, devotional service is the eternal life of the living entity and is lying dormant in everyone's heart. The practice which invokes that dormant devotional service is called practical devotional service. The purport is that the living entity is constitutionally part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. The Lord can be compared to the sun, and the living entities can be compared to molecules of sunshine. Under the spell of illusory energy, the spiritual spark is almost extinguished. But by practical devotional service, one can revive his natural constitutional position. When one practices devotional service, it should be understood that he is returning to his original and normal liberated position. Devotional service can be practiced with one's senses under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master. One begins spiritual activities for advancement in Krishna consciousness by hearing. Hearing is the most important method for advancement, and one should be very eager to hear favorably about Krishna. Giving up all speculation and fruitive activity, one should simply worship and desire to attain to love of God. That love of God is eternally existing within everyone. It simply has to be evoked by the process of hearing. Hearing and chanting are the principal methods of devotional service. Devotional service may be regulative or affectionate. One who has not developed transcendental affection for Krishna should conduct his life according to the directions and regulations of the scriptures and the spiritual master. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 1, verse 5, Shukadev Goswami advises Maharaj Parikshit. तस्माद् भारत सर्वात्मा भगवानीश्वरो हरिः श्रोतव्यः कीर्तितव्यश्च स्मर्तव्यश्चेच्छता भयम्. O best of the Bharatas, it is the prime duty of persons who want to become fearless to hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, and to chant about Him and always remember Him. Lord Vishnu is always to be remembered indeed. He is not to be forgotten for even a moment. He is the sum and substance of all regulative principles. The conclusion is that when all the rules, regulations, recommended and prohibited activities revealed in scriptures are taken together, the remembrance of the Supreme Lord is invariably the essence of everything. Remembrance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within one's heart is the goal of devotional service. When devotional service is performed purely and affectionately, there is no question of regulative principles. There are no do's and don'ts. However, one should generally accept the following principles to properly execute devotional service. 1. Take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. 2. Receive initiation from the spiritual master. 3. Serve the spiritual master. 4. Inquire and learn love from the spiritual master. 5. Follow in the footsteps of holy persons devoted to the transcendental loving service of the Lord. 6. Prepare to give up all kinds of enjoyment and miseries for the satisfaction of Krishna. 7. Live in a place where Krishna had his pastimes. 8. Be satisfied with whatever is sent by Krishna for the maintenance of the body and hanker for no more. 9. Observe fasting on Ekadashi day. This occurs on the 11th day after the full moon and the 11th day after the new moon. On such days, no grains, cereals, or beans are eaten. Simply vegetables and milk are moderately taken, and chanting Hare Krishna and reading scriptures are increased. 10. Show respect to devotees, cows, and sacred trees like the banyan tree. It is essential for a neophyte devotee who is beginning to follow the path of devotional service to observe these 10 principles. One should also try to avoid offenses in serving the Lord and in chanting his holy names. There are 10 kinds of offenses which one can commit while chanting the holy name, and they should be avoided. These offenses are 1. Blaspheming a devotee of the Lord. 2. Considering the Lord and the demigods on the same level or thinking that there are many gods. 3. Neglecting the orders of the spiritual master. 4. Minimizing the authority of the scriptures, the Vedas. 5. Interpreting the holy names of God. 6. Committing sins on the strength of chanting. 7. Instructing the glories of the Lord's names to the unfaithful. 8. Comparing the holy name with material piety. 9. Being inattentive while chanting the holy name. 10. Remaining attached to material things in spite of chanting the holy names. 10 additional regulations are as follows. 1. One should try to avoid offenses in the service of the Lord and in chanting the holy names of the Lord. 2. One should avoid the association of unholy non devotees. 3. One should not attempt to have many disciples. 4. One should not take the trouble to understand many books or to understand partially any particular book, and one should avoid discussing different doctrines. 5. One should be composed both in gain and in loss. 6. One should not be subject to any kind of lamentation. 7. One should not disrespect the demigods or other scriptures. 8. One should not tolerate blasphemy against the Supreme Lord and his devotees. 9. One should avoid ordinary topics of novels and fiction, but there is no injunction that one should avoid hearing ordinary news. 10. One should not give any trouble to any living creature, including a small bug. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, compiled by Sri Rupa Goswami, it is said that one should be very liberal in behavior and should avoid any undesirable activities. The most important affirmative points are that one should accept the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, be initiated by him, and serve him. In addition to these, there are 35 items of devotional service, and they can be analyzed as follows. 1. Hearing. 2. Chanting. 3. Remembering. 4. Worshipping. 5. Praying. 6. Serving. 7. Engaging as a servitor. 8. Being friendly. 9. Offering everything. 10. Dancing before the deity. 11. Singing. 12. Informing. 13. Offering obeisances. 14. Standing up to show respect to the devotees. 15. Following a devotee when he gets up to go to the door. 16. Entering the temple of the Lord. 17. Circumambulating the temple of the Lord. 18. Reading prayers. 19. Vibrating hymns. 20. Performing Sankirtana or congregational chanting. 21. Smelling the incense and flowers offered to the deity. 22. Accepting prasada or food offered to Krishna. 23. Attending the Aratrika ceremony. 24. Seeing the deity. 25. Offering palatable foodstuffs to the Lord. 26. Meditating. 27. Offering water to the Tulasi tree. 28. Offering respect to the Vaishnavas or advanced devotees. 29. 29. Living in Mathura or Vrindavana. 30. Understanding Srimad Bhagavatam. 31. Trying one's utmost to attain Krishna. 32. Expecting the mercy of Krishna. 33. Performing ceremonial functions with the devotees of Krishna. 34. Surrendering in all respects. 35. Observing different ceremonial functions. To these 35 items, another four can be added. 1. Marking one's body with sandalwood pulp to show that one is a Vaishnava. 2. Painting one's body with the holy names of the Lord. 3. Covering one's body with the remnants of the deity covers. 4. Accepting Charanamrita, the water which washes the deity. These four additional items make 39 items for devotional service in all. And out of all of these, the following five are most important. 1. To associate with devotees. 2. To chant the holy name of the Lord. 3. To hear Srimad Bhagavatam. 4. To live in a holy place such as Mathura or Vrindavan. 5. To serve the deity with great devotion. These items are especially mentioned by Rupa Goswami in his book Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. The 39 items above, plus these 5 items, total 44 items. Add to these the 20 preliminary occupations, and there are a total of 64 devotional different items for conducting devotional service. One can adopt the 64 items with his body, mind, and senses, and thus gradually purify his devotional service. Some of the items are completely different, some are identical, and others appear to be mixed. Srila Rupa Goswami has recommended that one live in the association of those who are of the same mentality. Therefore, it is necessary to form some association for Krishna consciousness and live together for the cultivation of knowledge of Krishna and devotional service. The most important item for living in that association is the mutual understanding of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. When faith and devotion are developed, they become transformed into the worship of the deity, chanting of the holy name, and living in a holy place like Mathura and Vrindavan. The last 5 items mentioned after the first 39 are very important and essential. If one can simply discharge these 5 items, he can be elevated to the highest perfectional stage, even if he does not execute them perfectly. One may be able to perform one item or many items according to one's capacity, but it is the principal factor of complete attachment to devotional service that makes one advance on the path. There are many devotees in history who have attained perfection in devotional service simply by discharging the duties of one item, and there are many other devotees, like Maharaj Ambarisha, who executed all the items. Some individual devotees who attained perfection in devotional service by executing only one item are Maharaj Parikshit, who was liberated and fully perfected simply by hearing, Shukadev Goswami, who became liberated and attained perfection in devotional service simply by chanting, Prahlad Maharaj, who attained perfection by remembering, Lakshmi, who attained perfection by serving the lotus feet of the Lord, King Pruthu, who attained perfection simply by worshipping, Akrura, who attained perfection simply by praying, Hanuman, who attained perfection simply by becoming the servant of Lord Rama, Arjuna, who attained perfection simply by becoming a friend of Krishna's, and Bali Maharaj, who attained perfection simply by offering whatever he had in his possession. As far as Maharaj Ambarisha is concerned, he actually performed all the items of devotional service. He first of all engaged his mind upon the lotus feet of Krishna. He engaged his words, his power of speaking, in describing the transcendental qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He engaged his hands in washing the temple of the deity, his ears in hearing the words of Krishna, and his eyes in beholding the deity. He engaged his sense of touch by rendering service to the devotees, and he engaged his sense of smell by relishing the fragrance of the flowers offered to Krishna. He engaged his tongue in tasting the tulasi leaves offered to the lotus feet of Krishna, his legs in going to the temple of Krishna, and his head in offering obeisances to the deity of Krishna. Because all his desires and ambitions were thus engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, Maharaj Ambarish is considered the leader in discharging devotional service in all kinds of ways. Whoever engages in the devotional service of the Lord in full Krishna consciousness becomes freed of all debts to the sages, demigods, and forefathers to whom everyone is generally indebted. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 5, verse 41. देवर्षिभूताप्तनृणां पितॄणां न किङ्करो नायमृणी च राजन् सर्वात्मना यः शरणं शरण्यं गतो मुकुन्दं परिहृत्य कर्तम्. Whoever fully engages himself in the service of the Lord, O King, is no longer indebted to the demigods, the sages, other living entities, his relatives, the forefathers, or to any man. Every man, just after his birth, immediately becomes indebted to so many people, and one is expected to discharge many kinds of ritualistic functions because of this indebtedness. However, if one is fully surrendered unto Krishna, there is no obligation. One becomes free from all debts. It should be carefully noted, however, that when a person gives up all other duties and simply takes to the transcendental service of Krishna, he has no desire and is not subjected to or likely to perform sinful activities. If, however, he performs sinful activities, not willfully but by chance, Krishna gives him all protection. It is not necessary for him to purify himself by any other method, and this is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 5, verse 42. A devotee who is fully engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord is protected by the Supreme Person, but in case he unintentionally commits some sinful activity or is obliged to act sinfully under certain circumstances, God, situated within his heart, gives him all protection. The processes of speculative knowledge and renunciation are not actually the chief items for elevation in devotional service. One does not have to take to the principles of non-violence and sense control, although there are rules and regulations for acquiring these qualities in other processes. Without even practicing these processes, a devotee develops all good qualities simply by discharging devotional service to the Lord. In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 20, verse 31, the Lord Himself says that there is no necessity to cultivate speculative knowledge and renunciation if one is actually engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. Thus ends chapter 12 of Teachings of Lord Chaitanya entitled The Devotee. So, quickly I'll ask two questions. If you know the answer, you can unmute yourself and reply. How many items of devotional service totally are recommended in this chapter?
35
35 plus 4, Prabhu.
plus total 64, but 35 plus 4 plus 20, 64.
Yeah, yes, right. So, as Mataji said, totally 64 items of devotional service are recommended, as we have read. Now, among the 64, the next question is how many are important and which are those most important?
5.
Yes, Mataji, five. What are the five?
Associate, associating with the devotees, chanting the
Mhm.
holy name, hearing
Yeah,
Bhagavatam, living
mm,
in a holy place like Mathura, Dwaraka, and deity worship.
very good, very nice. I would request others to attempt this time. Uh, where is it mentioned that it is better for a devotee to lock himself in fire, in a prison of fire, than to associate with non devotees? Who says this and from where does he quote? Abhishek.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I'm forgetting the exact quotes, Prabhu, where from where it has taken.
But who said that?
Uh,
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quotes this to Sanatana Goswami, and this is from a scripture
That's
called
right.
Katyayana
Awesome.
Samhita. Thank you very much for joining. I request all of you to please pay attention while reading so that we actually know what we are reading and remember. We will meet again in the next session. Thank you very much. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai.
Hare
Vishwa Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.